Tell me how many hearts you've got and which problem you want to do. We are not going to spend a ton of time on this, but we will do a few to get warmed up. So, who missed something and you don't understand? Nyla?
I had 3 hearts in number 3.
3 hearts in number 3? All right, so on the 3-heart quiz number 3. Now, you all had a problem like this. It says find the exact value of the tangent of pi over 6. Okay? You didn't have that exact problem, all of you, but you had one exactly like it. So, first of all, we have to change it into degrees. So, pi is 180 divided by 6 would be 30. Now, some of you stopped here, and you said that was the answer. No, 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 no. You're finding the tangent, which means you need opposite over adjacent. So we'll draw our 30-degree angle, or whatever angle you had. Some of you may have had a 45 or a 60. Put it here at the origin. So that tells me this is 1, this is root 3, and this is 2. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. This is the opposite side, the adjacent side. So that's root 3 over 3. Did you find your mistake?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do one more. Who else had a question? Something you missed on your quiz? Arliss? And it was what? Okay, so that's a calculator problem. So cotangent of 149, you all had a problem like this. It may not have been cotangent, but it was something. So I'm going to remember that I don't have a cotangent button. If it was tangent 149, I'd just type it in. But I don't have a cotangent button, so I have to do 1 divided by tangent 149. So 1 divided by tangent 149. And I got negative 1.6643. Remember that 10,000 means 4 decimal places. So that's what you should have. All right, I'll do one more. One more. Who has one more question from the quiz? Come on now, some people miss things. David.
We'll do 2 hearts, number 4.
Yep. 2 hearts, number 4. Again, you all had a problem very similar to this. It is a right triangle. And this is 12, and this is 16, and this is x. It says find x. So when we have this situation, which, by the way, we had in our word problems, right? We had pictures like this in our word problems. There's an eagle sitting at the top of a tree looking at a mouse on the ground. Remember those? You come up with pictures exactly like this. So you look at it and you decide, okay, am I going to use sine, cosine, or tangent? Which one is it? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent. And how do we know? Don't just sit there and let somebody else say tangent. How do we know this is a tangent problem? Opposite over adjacent. So we'll say tan 12 equals opposite over adjacent. Okay, David? Opposite side, adjacent side. Then I'm trying to get x by itself, so I'll multiply by 16. And that's it. So type it in. 16 tan 12. And the directions specifically say round to the nearest hundredth. So that will be 3.40. In our word problems, this was not a word problem, but in those, remember you have to put a unit on that, like feet or inches or something. Okay? All right. Get your calculators out. Let me see who's got a calculator today. Merritt's got one. Everybody's got a calculator today. That would be so amazing. We'd be so happy. that one. Oh my goodness, everybody present has a calculator. Let's see if the online people have a calculator. Hold up your calculator for me, let's see it. Is that a graphing calculator, Essence? No, where's your graphing calculator?
Jake, is that a graphic calculator?
No graphing calculator?
No. Whoa! Is that a graphic calculator? Are you sure?
Okay. Gotta see, gotta have graphing calculators. All right. Okay. Now, let's get back to our notes. And we are now on the back of page 35, according to Trey's good records. And we're ready to do these really, really important problems. The good news is they're super important, but I think they're going to be easy for you. If you are, able to put all the pieces together here. All right, so let's see what we've got. Now, first of all, I drew circles for the first two. You do not need to draw circles. You can if you want. Does anybody remember the problems when we have to draw circles? When the angle is on an axis, right? Now, 150 is not on an axis. 150 is over here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put the circle there since I have it on the paper, but you can draw your triangle right in the circle. That's 150 degrees. Remember, when we are labeling angles, not directions, not a compass, regular angles, we start here and go this way. One more time. You do not need the circle in this problem. I put it on there because some kids like to use them, but you need to draw a triangle. You need a triangle. Okay? The circle is just extra. Now, tell me what you know about the triangle. I've marked nothing in the triangle except that's a right angle. Do I know anything else about that right triangle? I'm going to shut this door. I'm not supposed to, but I don't know this. Okay. What about, anybody see anything I know about that triangle? Use your logic. Problem solve a little bit. How big is this angle?
45.
No, it won't be 45. 30. Why is it 30? Because, well, I need a 30, 60, 90, but look, if this is 150 and this is 180, doesn't that make that 30? Because all the way to the halfway mark here would be 180, but I stopped here, so that's a 30. Now, you've got your 30, 60, 90, Lily, so now I can label the sides. Across from the 30 is 1, root 3, 2. Now, we've done that before. You did that on your quiz. The difference is something's going to be negative. Because if you don't draw the triangle in quadrant 1, something is negative. Can you tell me what's negative? Is it the root 3, the 1, or the 2? The root 3 is negative. Now, we've got to get that figured out. So, first step, hypotenuse or radius is never negative. So this will be positive no matter what. All right, I'm going to say that again. This is positive no matter what. No matter where you are, that will be positive, always. The radius or the hypotenuse is positive. This is the origin. When you draw this triangle, you go left and up. Look, this is the coordinate axis system. If you count this way, isn't that negative? And if you count up, isn't that positive? So that's why that's negative and that is positive. because of the quadrant that I'm sitting in. Okay, so what did I want to know? I want to know sine. So sine, here's your angle, always it's the one at the origin. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the answer to the problem is 1/2. Doesn't that look kind of familiar to what we did before, except now we've got negatives to worry about. Tangent negative 240. Tangent negative 240. Okay? Now remember, if it's a negative angle, we talked about this yesterday, if it's a negative angle, instead of going up and around, we go down and around, but we start in the same place. We start here. Now I have to go 240 degrees. If I go to here, that's 90, and this would be 180. And if I went all the way to here, it would be 270, but I don't want to go that far, do I? So isn't my angle up here somewhere? So this angle is 240 negative, because I went down. 90, another 90, and if I went another 90, that would be too much, so I stopped in between. Now, how big is this angle? This is the important one. The one right here inside the triangle. That's the important one. How big is it? It'll always be positive. The angle that you put in the triangle will be positive. Think about it. 60. Who said 60? Okay, Caden, tell us how you got 60, because you're right.
240 minus 180.
Exactly. Guys, if you go from here to here, didn't you go 180? How much more did you have to go to get to 240? Isn't that 60? So this is 180. I needed to go 240. So the distance between them, the difference between them, is 60. So there's a little 30, 60, 90. This is root 3. This is 1. This is 2. What's negative? The 1 is negative. We're in the same quadrant we were a minute ago. I want the tangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that'll be root 3 over negative 1, or just plain old negative root 3. Is that okay with everybody? All right. Tangent 5 pi over 4. What might be the first thing we do when we look at this problem that says tangent 5 pi over 4? Change it to degrees. So 180 divided by 4 times 5. Wait, this is another tangent? Yeah. What is that? Y'all got calculators. 5 times 45, right? 225. So I'm going to draw 225 degrees. Now remember, this is not a compass. So I'm going to start here, always, and I'm going to go up and around, right? Now, to here is 90. I'm going past that. To here is 180. Going past that. To here is 270. I'm not getting that far. So would you agree that 225 is down here like this? In between 180 and 270? Now we got to figure out this angle right here. It's always the one at the origin we have to figure out. 45. And why is it 45? Because to here was 180, And didn't we have to go 45 more to get our 225? So now we know the sides of the triangle because it's a 45, 45, 90. So it's going to be 1, 1, root 2. Are there any negatives in this problem? This one's negative? Anything else?
The other one?
The other one's negative too. Aren't they both negative down there? Didn't we go left and down to draw that triangle? Here's the origin. We had to go left and down. Tangent. Opposite over adjacent. I got 1. Did you get 1? Cosecant 3 pi over 4.
35.
So there it says that's 135. Now please do not stop there. That's step 1. Now you got to draw it. So where are you going to draw 135? Remember, you're starting here and you're going this way. So where are you going to draw 135? It's going to be right here, isn't it? So we'll draw that, make our triangle. And then we've got to figure out the measure of this angle. So use your problem solving skills. This is 135. This is 180. So in between them would be 45, right? So the triangle is 1, 1, root 2. Anything negative. Remember, if you're not in quadrant 1, something's negative.
1 on the bottom.
The 1 on the bottom is negative. Cosecant is reciprocal of sine. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so this will be hypotenuse over opposite. Did you follow that?
Root 2 over 1.
So that's going to be root 2 over 1, so the answer is just plain old root 2. Getting the hang of it? All right. Do step 1 of E. What's going to be your step 1? Yep. So tell me what 7 pi over 6 is. 210. So we're going to draw 210. So take a minute and see if you can get 210 drawn in the right spot. Remember, you're using regular standard position. So you're starting here and going this way. So where are you going to put 210 degrees? I hope right here. Did you draw it right there? 210? Okay, now don't say it, but right now what you think this angle is. Think about it now for a second. You got a problem solved.
30. 60.
Okay, I hear 30s and I hear 60s.
30.
It's definitely 30. Now listen, pay attention. If I go all the way to here, it's 180, right? But I went past 180. How much past 180 is 210? 30, right? You're measuring from 180. Okay, so you got a 1, a root 3, and a 2. Anything negative in that picture? The root 3 is definitely negative. Anything else? The 1. They're both negative. If you're in quadrant 3, you are left and bound. Remember, the 2 is never negative, ever. It's always positive. sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Did you get negative 1/2? All right, let's try f by ourselves. All by yourself. See how far you can get with it. Cotangent 5 pi over 3. Okay, Jameson, what was step 1 for you? What was the very first thing you did? You may not be done yet, and that's okay, but what was the first thing you did?
Find out what 5 times pi over 3 is.
And what'd you get?
300.
Okay, so I agree. I think Jameson's right on target. That's cotangent 300. Would you agree? Okay. So now, Sam, what was the next thing you did?
I made my triangle.
Okay. And when you drew your triangle, you use these labels, and that's a positive 300, so we're going to go this way, right? Go this way. And where did you put it? Where did you put your triangle?
The bottom right.
We call that the 4th quadrant, right? Because all the way around, you came 300 degrees, right? 300 degrees. So this is 300. And if I go all the way around, it's 360, right? But I didn't go all the way around. I stopped this much before I got to 360. So how much is this? 60. 60. This is 360, and this is only 300. Aren't they 60 apart? Now, those of you that are using 270, you got to stop it. The triangle doesn't have anything to do with the 270, does it? If you said, if you wanted to know this angle, go ahead and use 270, but that's not the angle you need. So you're not using 270, you're using 360. Just like over here, we used 180, because our triangle is sitting on that line. Okay, now I can't help you with this. You have got to look at it and say, all right, this is 300, this is 360, and then you have to figure out the difference is 60. So that makes this a root 3 and this a 1 and that a 2, because those are the sides of a 30, 60, 90. What's negative? The root 3 is negative because it's down. Now, cotangent. I know that tangent is opposite over adjacent, so cotoa. So cotangent would be adjacent over opposite, which in this problem would be 1 over negative root 3, or negative root 3 over 3. Now, I may not have given you enough time. Did anybody happen to get that all by yourself? Were you on the right track, though, before I jumped in and took over? Good. All right, let's turn the page and look at the next problems. They're sort of the same, but a little bit different. It says find the sine, cosine, and tangent of 90. Okay, now I must use a circle. Because if I set up my system here, 90 is straight up. right? So I cannot draw a triangle. 90 is right here. This is 90 degrees, right here. That angle is 90 degrees. So I'm going to use a circle. And I have to figure out the coordinates of this point right here. Now, this is a little tricky because what do you not know? What kind of important piece of information do you not have? You don't know what the radius is, right? If we knew what the radius was, we could easily figure out what this point is. If I said go up 4, the radius is 4, then that would be the point 0, 4. But if we went up 5, it would be the point 0, 5, right? So when we don't have the radius, you actually are allowed to pick your own, but we always, I mean, as we do these, we always use 1 as the radius, because 1 is the simplest number. It's called the unit circle. It has a radius of 1. So if you don't know what the radius is, just make it 1. It won't make any difference to the answer. If he makes it 7 and he makes it root 13 and she makes it 75, it won't matter in the answer. So we just use 1 because that's easy, okay? If the radius is 1, then this is the point 0, 1. Think about a piece of graph paper. This is the origin. You're going up 1, 0, 1. So x is 0, y is 1, and r is 1. That's what we know for sure. Now our job is to find, I think all 3 of them, sine, cosine, and tangent. So, do you have them memorized yet? Do you know what sine, cosine, and tangent are in terms of these things? Sine is y over r, so it will be y over r will be 1 over 1, so 1. Cosine, x over r, so that'll be 0 over 1, which is 0. Remember, 0 on top is okay. And then tangent, watch it, y over x. Tangent is y over x. And y over x is going to be 1 over 0. That's undefined. That is not okay. That is not okay.
You have to have all that memorized for the test?
Yeah.
Well, you don't memorize this, but you need to know what sine, cosine, and tangent are, yeah. Yep. You should be getting close, as much as we've used our pink sheet. All right, sine, now the next one is negative 180. Negative 180. All right, so think about your circle there. Where is negative 180? It's right over here, isn't it? Because negative would mean you go down and around. 180 means halfway. So wouldn't negative 180 be right here at this point? By the way, isn't negative 180 in the same place as positive 180? What is it, still with the same circle, with a radius of 1, what are the coordinates at that point? Negative 1, 0. Here's the origin. You're going left 1. Negative 1, 0. So x, now I have different values of x, y, and r. So, or r is still 1. X is negative 1 and y is 0. So now I'm going to fill in my sine, cosine, and tangent. So sine, remember, is y over r. So that will be 0. Are you paying attention? Not just writing down. You're actually like absorbing, hopefully. Cosine is x over r. So that's -1. And tangent is y over x, which is 0. What do you think about the next one? How are you going to start that? You're going to figure out what 3 pi over 2 is? All right, so figure out what 3 pi over 2 is. 270. Pi is 180. 180 divided by 2 is 90. And 90 times 3 is 270. Where's 270? Straight down, right here. What are the coordinates of that point in a circle with a radius of 1? What would that point be? Straight down 1 unit. 0, -1, right? Because you went down. So x is 0 and y is -1 at that point. And radius is still 1, always positive. So let's fill it in. Sine, cosine, and tangent. What do we got? What'd you get for your sine? -1. That's exactly right. It's -1 over 1. Y over r. How about the cosine? 0 over 1. That's 0. X over r. And our tangent is -1 over 0, which we will say is undefined. Now, do the last one all by yourself, remembering that 0 is right here, right? 0 degrees is right here. So find the coordinates of that point, and then evaluate your sine, cosine, and tangent. Zero is right there. That's the beginning. 0 degrees. David, you got your points over here. What's your ordered pair over here?
I thought it was 1 over 0, but
It's 1 comma 0.
Oh,
You are
comma
exactly right. It's 1 comma 0. It's an ordered pair, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so x is 1 and y is 0. So now you should be able to fill in your things. Jake, what do you have for the sine?
0 over 1.
Yep, which is 0. Remember, 0 on top is okay, so 0 over 1 is 0. All right, good. Brandon, what'd you get for cosine?
1 over 1.
1 over 1, which is just 1. Perfect. And Nyla, what'd you get for tangent? 0 over 1, which again is 0. So if in a set of problems, 90 or 180 or 270 or 0 or 360 or something like that shows up, you know you'll draw your circle, find your ordered pair, whatever it is on the circle, and then use your x over r, y over r, y over x definitions. Easy enough? All right, now we're going to do the hardest thing in this chapter. Right now, the hardest thing. It's okay. I think you'll get, no, the word problems are easy. This is a little bit tough. So here's what I want you to think about for a second. I want you to look at this next problem. And what you've been told is that the cosine is 2/3 and the tangent is negative, all right? So this means the tangent is negative. Now we talked about this positive negative stuff yesterday, or was that yesterday? And we said that if we're talking about the sine, S-I-N-E, we can tell if it's positive or negative by looking at y. You remember that conversation? Critical. Sine is associated with y. Cosine is associated with x, right? So when they tell me that the cosine is a positive 2/3, that automatically means that x is positive. Agreed? Cosine is x. Cosine goes with x. Now, what does tangent go with? Cosine goes with x, sine goes with y. What does tangent go with? Both. So tangent is y over x. And according to the problem, it's negative. But we already know x is positive from this, right? So if we already know x is positive, but the fraction has to be negative, what does that tell me about y? It's negative. So I'm in a situation where I know x is positive, but y is negative. Where does that happen? Because now I'm going to draw a triangle, but I have to draw it in the place where the x's are positive and the y's are negative. So that would be quadrant 4, wouldn't it, right here? Isn't x positive and y negative? And the cosine is 2/3, which means adjacent over hypotenuse is 2/3. Now at this point, it's review. What do you do when you only know two sides of your triangle? Pythagorean Theorem. So we'll call this x2 squared plus x squared is 3 squared, right? We've done this many times. It was on your quiz. So 4 plus x squared equals 9, x squared equals 5. So I got this to be the square root of 5 when I square rooted both sides. You okay with that? Almost. Shouldn't this be negative? Oh, those negatives are easy to forget. Easy to forget. Now, the question says, tell me what the sine and the cotangent are. Well, this is like those fill-in-the-blank problems, only you're not filling in all of them, you're just filling in these two. So what's the sine? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, sine, opposite over hypotenuse. So that'll be negative root 5 over 3. You might want to just keep SOHCAHTOA written on your paper at all times. Till you get old like me and you've done so many, you don't need to write that down. Can you guys even think about being 62? Can't even think about it. Seems like it's forever, doesn't it? You'll go just like this. So enjoy every day. All right, cotangent. What's cotangent? Well, it's the reciprocal of the tangent, right? So tangent is O over A. So cotangent will be A over O. So adjacent over opposite, 2 over negative root 5. Or negative 2 root 5 over 5. Now, I hope what you're thinking is, well, Mrs. Ford, that wasn't the hardest thing I've ever done. What was hard about that problem?
I mean, positive and negative.
Figuring out which quadrant to draw it in. Once you figured out where to draw the picture, then it was easy. Then it was stuff we'd done before. But you have to really think hard about this given information. Let's try another one. Forget about the question for a minute. This one says the sine is 1/5 and the cosine is negative. So forget about the actual, like what I'm looking for. It says the sine is 1/5 and the cosine is negative. Less than 0 means negative. Well, if the cosine is negative, I know that x is negative, right? Cosine is x. The sine is a positive number. That's a positive number. The sine is positive. So what does that mean? Y is positive. Positive sine means positive y. Negative cosine means negative x. Well, where is it that y is positive but x is negative? Quadrant 2. Yep, right over here. This is where x is negative but y is positive. And I know that the sine is 1/5, so do those labels look okay to you? All right, let's find our missing side, doing our Pythagorean Theorem. At some point, the drilling and all that will be over, but right now they're still working on it. Anybody have a third side for me? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Isn't it the square root of 24? Which is 2 root 6. So you have 1 squared plus x squared equals 5 squared. So you got x squared equals 24. And the square root of 24 is 2 radical 6. And it'll be negative. Did you catch that? Good job if you did. Way to be on your toes. Remember, you told me x was negative. There it is. There's that negative x. And now the question is, find the secant and the tangent. The secant and the tangent. Okay, secant is reciprocal of cosine. So it will be hypotenuse over adjacent. So 5 over negative 2 root 6. Now when we rationalize that, it's just the 6 that's causing us trouble. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by root 6. So we have 5 root 6 on the top. Now, these two make a plane 6. That's why we did it. But there's still a 2 there, so it's actually a negative 12 on the bottom. Because these make a 6, but you have to times it by the 2 that's down there also. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. So we have the same issue. So we'll multiply by root 6 again. So we have root 6 on the top, and then on the bottom we're going to have negative 12. That's 6 times 2.
I did that wrong.
You did it wrong?
I counted that wrong.
You got it right now?
Yes, I got it wrong.
All right, one more, guys. One more. Yep.
Interesting.
Sure. Sign out.
I waited until we did 2 of them.
Find the tangent and cosecant. Let's not worry about that. We know that the
What?
know that the cosine is negative. And the tangent is positive. Greater than 0 means positive. Now, what does this tell me right away? If the cosine is negative, then that means not y, x. Sine y, they both kind of have that long I sound. Sine y, go together. Cosine is x. So this says x is a negative number. Now what does this mean? What's tangent? Tangent, remember, is a combination of them. So if we already know that x is negative, but the whole fraction has to be positive, then what does that mean? They're both negative. Doesn't y also have to be negative? Because if you're going to put y over x, but you know the bottom's already negative, the top has to be negative too, to end up with a positive? So where is it that y and x are both negative? Right here, isn't it? Quadrant 3. And the cosine is negative 3/5. So remember, your angle's right here. So it's adjacent over hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is never negative, so the negative goes with the 3, which makes sense because it's to the left. And then we'll do our Pythagorean theorem, right? So 3 squared plus x squared equals 5 squared. Oh, that one worked out nicely. Did you get 4? I hope you remembered to mark it negative. Now we want the tangent and the cosecant. The tangent and the cosecant. All right, what's tangent? Opposite over adjacent, so it'll be negative 4 over negative, sign back in please. Negative 4 over negative 3, which is going to end up being positive 4/3. Right? By the way, didn't we say the tangent was going to be a positive number? Yeah. And cosecant is reciprocal of sine. So if sine is opposite over hypotenuse, then we're looking at hypotenuse over opposite. So 5 over negative 4. We all right with that? I'm going to stop there for the notes, but we're not done. I got one more thing to do. But I am going to stop there because the next time we have class, we'll be graphing. So that's something new. I want to give you some materials. So you're going to get 2 things from me today. And I want you, this first one I'm handing out, I want you to leave out. Because this is what we're going to work on it today. Now, it's called a Christmas gift worksheet because back when we had like normal schedules, we did all this stuff we're doing now, we did before Christmas. So this was
on the final?
Heck yeah. Not the whole chapter, we just part of it. But this was a review that I put together for over Christmas break because we were kind of in the middle of things. So leave that one out. Put this one away. This is your practice test. We're not ready for these yet, but I want you to have them so that when it comes time, in case you're absent or on retreat or quarantined or something, you'll have it. We are not doing this one today. Please put it away. And do not say to me when I say, okay, get out your practice test, I don't think I ever that one. Which you know is going to happen. Not from you, but you No, it's not. All right, so did everybody get two packets from me?
Yes.
Okay, so the one that says Christmas gift, I want to do a couple of problems from. I promise it'll only be a couple,
So like 2?
maybe just one. All right, so let's look at problem number 1. And all it is, remember, this was just review. So take a look at that triangle, the first one. Tell me what X, Y, and Z are. What numbers go on the sides of a 45, 45, 90 triangle? X is 1, Y is 1, and Z is root 2, right? All right, now look at the next triangle. What are A and B and C? It's a 30, 60, 90. So A is 1, B is root 3, and C is 2. Easy? All right, let's do one more. I promised you a couple. That's all I'll do. Let's do number 2. Change 160 into radians. How do we change 160 into radians? Yep, the proportion. Somebody said it. Thank you. Pi over 180 equals x over 160. And we cross multiply. So 180x equals 160 pi. So x equals 160 pi over 180. Everybody still with me? I'll cross out the zeros. I have 16 over 18. 8 pi over 9. And that is it. All right, please hang on to that sheet because we will be hopefully touching